My name is Lerato Masiko. I grew up in Pretoria, South Africa, in a house where love felt like something you had to earn. And somehow I was always behind. My older sister, Ayanda, was the golden girl. She was loud, confident, beautiful, the one teachers praised and relatives adored. At every family gathering people would say, "Ayanda is going places." Then they would look at me and ask, "And you? What do you do again?" I was the quiet one, the one who stayed in her room reading, the one who got straight A's but never got a celebration. When I won a science competition in high school, my father just nodded and said, "That's good." But Ayanda was head girl. When I got accepted into university with a scholarship, my mother smiled politely and asked, "Why can't you be more outgoing like your sister?" That sentence followed me my whole life. Why can't you be more like Ayanda? At dinner, they talked about her dreams, her plans, her future. When I tried to share something, the topic somehow always came back to her. I learned to speak less, to expect less, to clap for her, even when no one clapped for me. After a while, I stopped trying to impress them. I stopped waiting for them to say, "We're proud of you, Lerato." Because deep down, I understood something painful. It wasn't about what I achieved. In their eyes, I would always be the daughter who wasn't enough. And when you grow up hearing that long enough, you either break, or you build yourself in silence. What they didn't know about me could fill an entire book. While they were busy comparing me to Ayanda, I was building something they never even imagined. After university, I moved to Cape Town. No big goodbye. No emotional send-off. Just 2 suitcases, a laptop, and a quiet promise to myself that I would never beg for approval again. I got a small apartment in Woodstock with peeling paint and thin walls. During the day, I worked for a tech startup. At night, I worked on my own idea. Started small. Just me and my laptop at the kitchen table. I was building a platform to help small African businesses manage payments and inventory digitally. Nothing glamorous. No investors at first. No team. Just long nights, cold coffee, and Google searches at 2 a.m. about problems I had no one to ask for help. There were months I barely slept. Months I questioned everything. I remember crying quietly one night when my code crashed hours before a demo. No one called to check on me. No one knew I was struggling. And honestly, I was used to that. Slowly, things started to move. Small investor said yes. Then another. I hired 2 developers. Then 5. Our platform started growing across South Africa. Then Kenya. Then Nigeria. Articles were written. Awards came. My inbox filled up with partnership requests. Still, I never told my family. When the acquisition offer came, I read the email 3 times because I couldn't believe it. A global tech company wanted to buy us. The negotiations lasted months. Lawyers, meetings, contracts. I stayed calm on the outside, but inside my hands were shaking. The day the deal closed, I sat alone in my apartment. My share alone was worth $25 million. $25 million. I didn't scream. I didn't throw a party. I just sat there in silence, thinking about the little girl who was never enough. I didn't call my parents. Not because I was ashamed. Not because I didn't want to celebrate, but because I knew exactly what would happen. There would be no "we're proud of you." No hugs. No tears of joy. There would only be one question. So what are you going to do for the family? So I kept it to myself. I let them continue believing I was just the quiet daughter working a normal job in Cape Town. I built my empire the same way I built my strength, quietly. Because some victories are too sacred to share with people who only see your value when there's money attached to it. Thanksgiving at my parents' house was always loud. Too much food. Too many opinions. Too many old memories sitting at the same table every year. I almost didn't go, but my mother insisted. "Family is everything," she said. Ironic. The dining table was full. Roast chicken, pumpkin, salads, wine glasses clinking. Ayanda sat at the center like always, telling a dramatic story before dessert was even served. "My boutique would have worked," she said, shaking her head. "The market just wasn't ready. I just need capital. Real capital this time." My mother reached over and squeezed her hand. "Of course, my baby. You're so talented. The right opportunity will come." My father nodded seriously. If we had the money, we would invest again. I sat there quietly, cutting my food into small pieces, listening like I had done my whole life. Ayanda sighed loudly. Honestly, if I just had a few million rand, I'd turn everything around. People don't understand how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. I almost laughed at that, but I kept my face calm. Then it happened. My cousin Saifo, who had been scrolling on his phone half the night, suddenly looked up at me. Wait, Lerato, isn't that your company I saw online? Something about a big sale. I swear I read an article last month. My fork froze midair. The table went quiet. Not normal quiet. Heavy quiet. Ayanda frowned. What article? Saifo started tapping on his phone. Yeah, here. It says a Cape Town tech founder sold her company in a multi-million-dollar deal. Lerato Masiko. That's you, right? My mother slowly turned her head toward me. My father leaned forward. Ayanda's eyes narrowed. How much? My father asked. I felt every single pair of eyes on me. My aunt stopped chewing. My uncle put down his glass. Even the younger cousins went silent. It was just business, I said calmly. Saifo kept reading. It says the deal was worth, wait. His eyebrows shot up. $25 million. You could hear someone breathing across the table. Ayanda let out a small, shocked laugh. That can't be right. My mother whispered. Lerato, is this true? I looked around the table. For the first time in my life, they weren't looking past me. They were looking at me. Not with pride, not with love, but with calculation. And in that moment, I knew something had shifted. Not because they suddenly saw my worth, but because they finally saw my money. My father leaned forward slowly, his elbows on the table, his eyes locked on mine like I was suddenly a stranger. Is it true? He asked quietly. 25 million. The room felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Before I could even open my mouth, my mother spoke. God has blessed you, she said softly, but there was nothing soft about her tone. And when God blesses one child, it's so they can lift the family, especially their sister. There it was. Not congratulations. Not we're proud of you. Not even how did you do it. Just responsibility. Ayanda didn't look shocked anymore. She looked thoughtful, calculating. Then slowly she smiled. You know I deserve it more, she said lightly, like we were discussing dessert. I've always been the responsible one. I've always carried this family's image. I actually blinked. Responsible. I repeated. I shrugged. I'm the one who stayed close to home. I'm the one who helped Mom with events. I'm the one everyone knows. You left. You disappeared to Cape Town. My father nodded. Your sister has always put family first. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I built a company from nothing, I said calmly. I worked for years. And we're proud, my mother interrupted quickly. Of course we are. But success means nothing if you don't share it. Ayanda leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. My boutique only failed because I didn't have enough support. With real capital, I could build something bigger than what you did. The confidence in her voice was almost impressive. How much do you need? My father asked her like I wasn't even sitting there. She didn't hesitate. If she made $25 million, 10 million is fair. 10 million. They said it so easily, like they were asking to borrow sugar. My aunt chimed in softly. It's your sister. Blood is blood. My mother looked at me with disappointment already forming on her face. Don't be selfish, Lerato. Money changes people. I almost laughed at that. Money didn't change me. It revealed them. You're not even married, Ayanda added casually. You don't have children. What do you need that much money for? There it was again. My life measured by what I didn't have. My worth reduced to relationship status and motherhood. So I owe you? I asked quietly. Ayanda tilted her head. It's not about owing. It's about fairness. Fairness. All those years of being compared. All those years of being ignored. All those years of hearing, why can't you be more like Ayanda? And now suddenly I was the answer to her problems. My father's voice became firmer. Family supports family. That's how we raised you. No, I thought. That's how you raised her. I looked around the table, every face waiting, not to celebrate me, but to claim me. In that moment I understood something clearly. They didn't see my success as something I earned. They saw it as something they were entitled to. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel small, felt awake. Once the number was out in the open, it was like something switched in them. $25 million. They kept repeating it under their breath like it was a winning lottery ticket they had somehow misplaced. My uncle pulled out his phone calculator. Not even joking. Okay, he said, tapping the screen. If it's 25 million, giving Ayanda 10 is not even half. That still leaves you with 15. 15. Like it was pocket change. My aunt nodded. Exactly. And after tax, what is it really? You'll still be rich. Still be rich. No one said, "We're proud of you." No one asked how I built it. No one asked how many nights I cried or how many times I almost gave up. They were dividing it like I wasn't even sitting there. My father cleared his throat. 10 million is reasonable. Your sister just needs a strong start. Ayanda leaned forward, her voice calm, almost sweet. It's not like I'm asking for everything. I just need a fair chance. Fair chance. I looked at her, really looked at her. This was the same sister who used to roll her eyes when I studied too much. The same one who laughed when I said I wanted to work in tech. The same one who told relatives I was antisocial. Now she wanted my fairness. You're not even married, she added, shrugging. You don't have kids. What do you honestly need that much money for? The table went quiet again, but this time not shocked. This time they were waiting for my answer. What do I need it for? I wanted to say. For the nights I skipped meals to save money. For the rent I struggled to pay in Cape Town. For the anxiety attacks before investor meetings. For the years of being told I wasn't enough. But instead I just stared at them. My mother sighed dramatically. Lorato, don't let money harden your heart. Harden my heart. I felt something rising in my chest. Not anger, not even sadness. It was disbelief. Pure disbelief at the audacity. They weren't even pretending anymore. No, we're so happy for you. No hug. No pride in their daughter building something global. Just numbers. My cousin whispered, "Family comes first." I almost smiled at that. Because where was that energy when I needed emotional support? When I was building alone? When I was trying to prove I mattered? Ayanda crossed her arms. If you loved me, you wouldn't hesitate. There it was. Love turned into a transaction. I realized something painful in that moment. They never saw me as the quiet, hard-working daughter. They saw me as the backup plan, the emergency fund, the safety net. $10 million. They said it like I owed it, like my success was a family group project. And the craziest part, they truly believed they were being reasonable. I let them talk. I let them calculate my money like it was a family budget meeting. I let Ayanda sit there looking confident, like my success was already half hers. Then I took a slow breath. You're right, I said calmly. Family supports family. They all nodded quickly, relieved, thinking I had finally come to my senses. So let's talk about support. My father frowned slightly. What do you mean? I folded my hands on the table. My voice didn't shake. Who do you think paid off the rest of the mortgage last year? My mother blinked. What? The house, I said gently. When the bank called and said you were 3 months behind. When suddenly the balance was cleared anonymously. Who did you think did that? Silence. My father's face slowly changed. That was a blessing, he said. We never found out who. It was me, I said. The words landed heavy. My aunt gasped softly. I didn't stop. And Dad's hospital bills 2 years ago. When your insurance refused to cover the surgery. When the private account was settled overnight. I looked directly at him. That was me too. My father stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Ayanda shifted in her seat. What are you talking about? I turned to her. Your boutique, the first time it failed. Remember the silent investor, who stepped in so you wouldn't look embarrassed in front of your friends? Her lips parted slightly. That was me. The room felt frozen. I didn't do it for attention, I continued. I didn't do it so you'd praise me. I did it because you're my family. Because I thought that's what love looks like. My mother's eyes were wide now. Why didn't you tell us? I almost laughed, but it came out sad instead. Would it have mattered? No one answered. All these years, I said softly, I've been supporting this family quietly, paying, fixing, saving. And not once did I hear thank you. Not once did you wonder who kept catching you when you fell. Ayanda's voice was smaller now. You're lying. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app and placed it on the table. Check the transfer dates. Check the LLC name. It's mine. No one touched the phone. The same people who were just dividing my money suddenly didn't know where to look. My father cleared his throat, but no words came out. I felt something shift inside me. Not anger. Not revenge. Relief. For years, I said quietly, you thought I was the quiet one who did nothing. The one who wasn't enough. Meanwhile, I was the one holding everything together. My mother's voice cracked. We didn't know. I know, I replied. You never asked. And that silence. It was louder than anything they had said all night. For a few seconds nobody spoke. The truth was sitting in the middle of the table like a broken glass. Dark. Impossible to ignore. Then Ayanda slammed her hand down so hard the plates rattled. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're selfish. Selfish. I almost smiled at the irony. I'm selfish. I asked quietly. Yes, she shot back. Her face was red now. You're throwing money in our faces to make us feel small. If you really cared, you wouldn't hesitate to help me again. Again. My mother stood up slightly from her chair. Lorato, this is not how family behaves. You're embarrassing us. You're tearing this family apart over money. Tearing the family apart. I felt something inside me crack open. Not anger. Not even sadness. Just years and years of swallowed words finally rising to the surface. For 30 years, I said slowly, my voice steady but heavy, I've been trying to earn love in this house. They went quiet again. For 30 years, I listened to, why can't you be more like Ayanda? For 30 years, I clapped for her achievements while mine were ignored. For 30 years, I sat at this table feeling invisible. My father's jaw tightened. Don't exaggerate. I'm not, I said. When I got my scholarship, you said it wasn't as impressive as her being head girl. When I worked late nights, you called me antisocial. When I moved to Cape Town, you said I was selfish for leaving. Ayanda crossed her arms. Because you did leave. I left because I had to breathe, I replied. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We loved you. That's when it came out. The sentence I had been carrying since I was a child. No, I said softly but clearly. You loved what I could give you. The room went completely still. You loved the quiet daughter who didn't complain. The daughter who paid bills without asking for credit. The daughter who fixed problems silently. But you never loved me. My voice shook for the first time. You never asked what I wanted. You never asked if I was okay. You only show interest when there's something to gain. Ayanda looked hurt now but also angry. That's not fair. Neither was my childhood, I said. My father stood up. Enough. You're being dramatic. No, I replied. For once, I'm being honest. I looked around the table, at the food, the glasses, the people who shared my blood but never really saw me. I was never your golden child, I continued. I was your safety net. My mother whispered, you're ruining this family. I shook my head slowly. No, I'm just refusing to be used by it anymore. And in that moment I realized something powerful. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to be enough. I was finally choosing myself. They were still staring at me like I had just betrayed them, like I had committed some kind of crime by telling the truth. I picked up my glass of water, took a small sip, and then said the one thing they weren't expecting. Even if I wanted to give you 10 million, I can't. My father frowned. What do you mean you can't? I mean, I said calmly, most of my money isn't just sitting in a personal account. Ayanda rolled her eyes. Oh, please don't start with excuses. It's not an excuse, I replied. It's a structure. They looked confused. After the company was sold, I didn't just keep the money. I set up a trust. Legally, properly. The majority of my shares went into it before the deal closed. My uncle blinked. A trust. For what? For investment, I said. Specifically into African women-led startups. Tech, agriculture, health, fintech. Women who have ideas but no access. Women who get told be realistic. Women who are brilliant but invisible. The table was quiet again, but this time it wasn't shock. It was something else. Something like disbelief. You gave your money away, my mother whispered. No, I said. I grew it. I leaned back slightly. The trust is structured to reinvest profits into more women-owned businesses across the continent. South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. It's not for random withdrawals. It's not for family requests. It's locked in. Ayanda stared at me. So you're saying there's nothing left? There's enough for me to live comfortably, I answered. More than comfortably. But the bulk of it, it has a purpose. And that purpose isn't your own sister, she snapped. I looked at her carefully. The purpose is women who were told they weren't enough. Silence. Women who were told they're too quiet, too ambitious, too different. Women who had to build in silence because nobody believed in them. My voice softened. Women like me. My father shook his head slowly. So you'd rather fund strangers than help your own blood? They're not strangers to me, I said. I know their story. I lived it. My mother looked hurt. This is extreme. No, I replied gently. What's extreme is expecting one daughter to carry everyone else forever. I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Inside were printed documents. The trust agreement, the foundation outline, the mission statement. It's already done, I said. Signed, filed, registered. Ayanda's voice was smaller now. You planned this. Yes, I said. I planned my freedom. Up slowly. For once in my life, my success isn't about proving something to this family. It's about making sure another girl doesn't sit at a table like this and feel small. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel defensive, felt proud.